OCO, hello everyone. Welcome to Speaking Our Truth, podcast for change by the National Indigenous Women's Resource Center. I am your host, Leanne Pippin, and I'm a member of Cherokee Nation. Before we get started, let's hear a quick word from NIWRC.
The NIWRC provides culturally grounded webinars to lift up the collective voices of grassroots advocates working to end violence against Native women. Sign up for upcoming webinars at niwrc.org/events.
I want to introduce our guest host for this mini-series, Heather Brugel.
Heather is a citizen of the Oneida Nation of Wisconsin
and first-line descendant Stockbridge Munsee. She is a policy specialist here at NIWRC. Heather is a historian and frequent lecturer whose research includes topics such as American history, colonization, indigeneity, the history of American boarding schools, and missing and murdered Indigenous women. She is currently a doctoral student at the University of Wisconsin, Green Bay, and the First Nations Education ED doctoral program.
Hi, my name is Heather Brugel, and I am the policy specialist with NIWRC. Welcome to Families Taking Action in the Face of MMIW, Episode 1. This series sheds light on the crisis of missing and murdered Indigenous women. We are releasing an episode each day as part of the National Week of Action for Missing and Murdered Indigenous Women. The brave families in this podcast will share their stories and experiences with their loved ones who have gone missing or murdered. Please listen with care, knowing that the subject matter can be triggering and take space when you need. The crisis of missing and murdered Indigenous women has been an issue since colonization. According to a 2016 report by the Urban Indian Health Institute, there were 5,712 cases of missing and murdered Indigenous women and girls in the United States. However, only 116 were logged into the U.S. Department of Justice Missing Persons Database, the National Missing and Unidentified Persons System, or NamUs. The Centers for Disease Control reported in 2016 that for Indigenous women ages 10 to 24, murder was the third leading cause of death. For American Indian and Alaskan Native women ages 25 to 34 years, it is the fifth leading cause of death. Indigenous people as a whole only make up 2% of the population in the United States. According to the Coalition to Stop Violence Against Native Women, 4 out of 5 Native women have experienced violence in some form in their life. On reservations, Native women face a murder rate that is 10 times higher than the national average. So why is this an issue in Indian country, and what can be done? The United States has historically enacted policies that perpetrated violence against Indigenous peoples, and therefore Indigenous women. From the start, policy has harmed Indigenous peoples and communities. In recent years, there has been legislation introduced to bring awareness to missing and murdered Indigenous women. But more needs to be done. Jurisdictional changes introduce new challenges in Indian country. These are systematic barriers preventing justice for families. This week, you will hear stories from families who have lost a loved one due to violence. Each story is unique, but there are common threads that pull these stories together. They all lost someone, and the systems in place failed them. We ask you to join us this week as these families share their stories and the work that they do to bring awareness to this crisis. Thank you for joining us today. We want to share the Strong Hearts Native Helpline should you need culturally appropriate advocacy. It is 1-844-762-8483. Or you can contact them online by visiting strongheartshelpline.org. This podcast was made possible with funding from the Family Violence Prevention and Services Act.
Wado, thank you so much for listening. We hope you have time to process what you've learned and share this podcast with others. For everyone listening, please make sure to visit niwrc.org/podcast to view the show notes and links related to the episodes. You can also find the special MMIW edition of Restoration Magazine at niwrc.org/restoration-magazine. I am your host, Leanne Pippin. To everyone out there, thank you so much for listening. Take care.